Hello, this is WM, and I'm sitting in my humble office here with Paul Revere behind my right shoulder. He's pondering something. I do a lot of pondering, but I think I've got something to say today. And wow, this is pretty powerful stuff. Language is a challenge with this, but it's the greatest asset. I mentioned in my Montana video, YouTube, with the Montana shirt on, I talked about walking the old fields, the fields where I grew up as a boy, looking for items to talk about the ancestors or the inhabitants that lived there and what that meant, trying to build a collection and create a story and imagine what it was like 500, 5,000 years ago there. That was always exciting for me. And then, of course, I start going, okay, but this is a new kind of archaeology now. It includes best-selling books. And I have been reading hundreds and skimming, reading, whatever you want to call it, dissecting, or walking the book pages 1 through 500 fields analogy with walking the fields on the farm, looking for items that really would add to a self-awareness building evolution. And I go, well, how am I going to capture these in a book of 500 pages that's so lucidly written per chapter with editors and experts, with sentences and all the best things? Well, this is what's remarkable about this, what I've come up with, how to use my concepts of archaeology. Because I'm not on an ancient site, not Iraq or Sumerian on my knees with the toothbrush, but in a way I am. But I'm doing it on a best-selling book. And no matter how the book is chaptered, paragraphed, I have to pull out the hotspots and build them in a way that causes an immediate and dynamic story or scenario to share with whoever's perusing what I call portrait. And I'm trying to do 7 portraits in a series on a book. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 series in the book because it's got so much fantastic topic. But so that my new method of archaeology isn't walking the fields looking for items. It's walking a best-selling book or perusing or skimming or reading a best-selling book. And so then with the other video where I had the Oklahoma t-shirt on, I talked about, well, how am I going to structure this? How am I going to show a rational formula or equation that's already out there and standardized of structuring what I dissect, the hotspots that I come up with in a book, into my shared wisdom pattern snapshot series of 7 portraits. So I came up with geometry. And so the best item there is the smallest and equal on all sides, and that came up to be the tetrahedron, really the regular tetrahedron, which I acronymed RTH. So I start looking at these rules, had a CAD specialist come in, software, all this stuff, really researching and boiling it down. Oh my goodness, there's so much formula and equations, whether it's math, geometry, algebra. Oh, wow. And it's just too much. And I have to simplify it without losing the essence, the heart of it. That's what I want to do, is tell the story like a modern day archaeologist, but instead of the ruins that are buried, I'm using a best-selling book where everyone can speak the language. It's so different, yet it's so the same. It's a parallel, it's a duality. So what I found out, and you'll see that with the Oklahoma one, is I start modeling regular tetrahedrons, little like Platonic solids, and putting them together in chains. Clusters didn't work. And lo and behold, it gave me the guidelines by which to dissect and format the item, the good information I came up with in each book onto portraits that really facilitate and bring together our whole right, left brain, whole brain experience. And no matter how we were taught to read, it brings the best value out. I don't know if I'll ever be able to explain this well. You're going to have to, just like learning to do a bicycle or swim, you have to kind of go through the motions of ritual, routine, and habit. And that takes a certain amount of hope, faith, and scrutiny to actually try this out. And kind of thinking like Paul Revere back there. Okay, so what I've done with this is a great book, Limitless. It tries to include so much. It's almost overwhelming how much there is in there. And with Google today, he's mentioned so many great thinkers and authors. You could go Google and find out more info. But oh my goodness, the goal is be time efficient. We've got so much else going on in our life. So what I decided to do, just like I talked about on the Oklahoma one, by modeling chains of RTHs, I found out there is a segment, which is 3, 1, 3, when you put them together in a linear line. The CAD showed it too. Then there's a section, which is the total of those 7, not worrying about the shift in the middle of 3, 1, 3. And then if you put 7 sections of 7, it makes a 360-degree spiral. And it just goes on and on. So I go, okay, these are tangible Platonic solid rules. Let me use them to clarify, classify, or label, or parallel how I'm going to present the dissected hotspots from books. Let those be the rules on how I'm going to present them on the portraits in my SWP series from those books, making it much more, I hate to say fast, and it's never complete, comprehensive of all the other wonderful things that book can share with wisdoms and insight, but it really gets some of the best hotspots out to tantalize or motivate the participant that's reviewing these SWPS portrait series, which of course now are 7 portraits to parallel the 7 chain RTHs in a segment that we CAD modeled. And, there's 3 components on each portrait, which models the 3 before the 1 on the segment. So I really did use the rules of what I found out from the geometric research. So I'll show you in the book here. What I do is I got to use pencil. So this becomes my book when I'm done. And I'm scrutinizing and reading it back and forth. And what I'm looking for is hotspots, or how I can pull a hotspot together that tells a true story about the wisdom, the insight, and presents it in a way that it can be assimilated quickly, especially once you kind of pick up the groove on how to do this, can be assimilated by looking through, scanning each portrait. And of course, I brought that up before, is all we are is the total combination. There's some ancestry and genetics that before we were even born, but it's the total combination of our experiential intelligence, everything we've experienced from the time we were born, and also our values, beliefs, convictions. And it's those 2 things fused together that make every moment of our self-identity and how we judge things when we choose and rank. And so much of it has become ritual, routine, habit. We choose and rank a lot of things. When we have our coffee, when we do this, when we do that, we don't even think about it because our brain would be overwhelmed. So, these are more complex. These choose and rank really get down into your self-identity. It really taps into your judgments that you're not even aware of your experiential intelligence fused with your values, beliefs, and convictions on any topic, any item, small or huge. immediate decision or long-term pondering that you engage with every day. So that became a very important thing to capture, because that is a depth of who we are that can't be captured anywhere else today. No DNA, no fingerprint, no face, no voice, all this stuff that AI and everything is doing, that's really mixed with AI. That's not just us. That's not our genetics. That's not our mitochondria. That's not who we are. And that's okay. But it'd be nice to have that as a separate comparison to what AI is going to do, and maybe even integrate it, but still know what you had before you integrated it. That's what I'd like to see. That's what I'm envisioning with this. Do I got all the answers? Give me a break. You know, I've worked so hard on this for decades, all my own investment, blah, blah, blah. But the whole point with it is there's something here that is remarkable. There's something with this new frontier that is going to capture something we desperately need to save, to keep, that is so valuable, more than gold and diamonds, about who we are. And then if we want to engage it with AI, if we want to merge it with this, if we want to match it up, that's fine. But you still better keep this separate treasure box of who you really are. And that's what the SWPS series portraits do, is they capture that. And that's yours. Whether it's tomorrow or 10 years from now, it is you as you evolve. So I could show you some more in the book about how I use a pencil. And, you know, there's three components on a portrait. And it's said on when I kind of explained it lengthwise at the beginning of this video. But, you know, there's the RTH, which is the central heart of the portrait. And it's a 3D, four-sided. And what that means is you find a hotspot, and then they start to describe it and try to enfold it with little sentences and paragraphs. So I find the best content in words, language, that really encapsulates the strong wisdom concept that I found in that book. And I note what pages it's on. They're not always in consecutive pages. And you'll see that when you do a SWPS series, is to the right of the summation and the conclusion boxes. Those are two other things I capture. So I got the RTH as the heart, the central box. Then I've got the summation, which kind of gives you an overview. What are we talking about here? Where'd this come from? And then the conclusion box, which kind of concludes or says, okay, this is what it is. And I capture the best content I can find. And it's fairly efficient. And your right brain engages and helps the left brain know where to go read. And together they both can work separately and look at it together and unify. And that helps the whole brain and blah, blah, blah. Wow, too much to talk about. But I've got to do it. It's really valuable. It isn't about me. It's about what is really here. Is it diamonds in the rough? Possibly, but I think it's better than the rough. It's fantastic because archaeology and geometry that are the foundation for the principles of building these portraits, and you know, it's just remarkable what you can come up with now, because we've got language, we've got meaning, we've got context, all these things that didn't exist when you're out in a archaeological excavation. You had to speculate. We still can speculate some, but now we've got strong language, and we can match it, compare it, parallel it. We can integrate and infuse what we want from it and what we don't need. And we can use all that education we got that taught us how to learn and read and spell, and all that's evolved since then. Well, what do you know? So that's my next episode here on the video. And I am excited to keep trying to do more. And before long, what I'm going to do is share with you what I'm getting out of these SWP series from best-selling books, or at least my introspection. But you got to remember, I've been on this road a long time with a lot of wrong turns and stepping in the ditch, but getting back on and continuing with this purpose. And it's there. This is a road to somewhere. And no matter how you want to travel it, you really need to take a good look at this, because I really think it could add a lot to your daily and life adventure experiences. So have a great day. And I am going to sign off. Of course, I have to get my arrow, but remarkable technology. Be well.